When you think about superheroes, Pokémon isn't the first franchise that comes to mind, but over the years the anime has quietly introduced its own lineup of masked vigilantes. Some of them kinda rule. Today we're assembling the ultimate Pokémon superhero team, basically the Pokémon Justice League, which means I'll be ranking the heroes of the Pokémon anime not just on strength, but on vibes, presentation, and whether or not I trust them to defend the city for more than like 20 minutes. So suit up because we've got a world to save. First off is Gligar Man. In the superhero secret, Ash, Brock, and Misty are on their way to Azalea Town when they're caught in another trap by Team Rocket. Things look pretty dire, that is until Gligar Man and his trusty Gligar arrive to save the day. They all make fun of him immediately, and he is a bit out of shape, but the duo is still able to drive off Team Rocket, mostly with Gligar's agility. So he does a pose or two after saving Togepi and gives a parting word along with a whistle to call him if they ever need help again. When they get to the next town, they find a toy store absolutely stacked with Gligar Man merchandise run by Mr. Parker and his daughter Latoya. Painfully obvious that he's actually Gligar Man, but I like that for being fooled by every Team Rocket disguise they see through him almost immediately. There's also this really sick movie that shows off the hero, obviously made years ago when he was actually in shape, but the style of it is so good. Reminds me a lot of Batman the Animated Series, which by the way, if it wasn't entirely obvious, Gligar Man is meant to be like a version of Batman with a lot of other inspirations mixed in. For one thing, the finishing move is a kick just like Kamen Rider does. So they let everyone in on the secret and show off the lair inside the mansion, and dang, they've got quite the setup. Interesting that Mr. Parker laments not having anybody to take over for him and even offers the role to Ash, though he declines. Crazy that he had the opportunity though, but even more curious is how Ash is so fascinated with Gligar for the short amount of time that they interact. Looking back on things, it is funny knowing that he'll eventually have his own. Back in town, Team Rocket is causing trouble with their own weird costumes. Jessie obviously is having a lot of fun. They're sticking to the bug Pokemon theme with the giant mecha Spinnerack that is a little too much for our hero, as he gets all tangled up in a web. But in the 11th hour, another hero shows up calling herself Gligirl, being Latoya underneath the mask. She teams up with Gligar and they take down Team Rocket with ease. Though Pikachu is the one to deal the final blow, they obviously couldn't have done it without Gligirl. Now we can resolve everything as Latoya and Mr. Parker are able to move forward, now on the same page, deciding to become a superhero duo, even if they have to share a Pokemon. Of course, we never see these characters again. Too bad, because could you imagine if they would have come back with a Gliscor and another Gligar? Too good of an opportunity, I guess. For being the first true superhero in the Pokemon anime, we actually get a 2-for-1, and I really like Gligar Man and Gligirl. Just being a regular guy who created a persona he decided to live up to is really admirable. Also, they've definitely got a lot of money to continue the operation, so he already has the powers of Batman. I'm a big fan of Latoya's design, though that shouldn't come as a surprise, so I'm glad that she got to join in on the superhero fun. I would rate them as A tier, as they'd be a great addition to a superhero team, obviously providing the headquarters and transportation, basically the founding members. Next up is the Mightiest Accelguard. In the Mightiest Accelguard to the rescue, Ash, Iris, and Silent arrive in Driftvale City, and while they meet Clay almost as soon as they arrive, he can't battle at the moment because he yearns for the mines. In the meantime, they run into a biker named Charles who is voiced by Dan Green. Let's go! He's a chill guy with an Accelguard as a partner. He is actually an NPC in the video games, though it doesn't really tie into his anime appearance all that much. Rather, he introduces a player to the concept of triple battles or rotation battles. But in the anime, Charles brings everyone to the Driftvale market where everybody loves him. Like he's a hero or something. But when a bandit Ducklet tries to make off with some food, a hero known as the Mightiest Accelguard and his Accelguard show up to save the day, doing some awesome poses and going for the finisher with the Accelguard kick that actually misses. If anything, Accelguard appears to be the fast and capable one, meanwhile, Accelguard is a bit more of a goof. Thankfully, a Timber shows up to help, who is owned by our other important character of the day, Linda. And if it isn't obvious, Charles is actually our failing hero, which Linda clearly knows. We get a few hints of suspicious ice cream trucks that lead us to some dude in cold storage. Obviously our villain for the episode. Later that night, we find Linda investigating the same freezer, finding all the stolen ice cream and running into Team Vanillite. She and Timber get captured, and Dr. Ferrara reveals that his plan all along was to steal a bunch of frozen goods and use them to lure out Pokemon that they can then use to take over the Unova region. Yeah, okay, sure. Thankfully, everybody else shows up just in time, fighting them off until they retreat into one of their trucks. And now it all comes down to Charles. It is kind of funny that he gets a whole transformation sequence changing into the Mightiest Accelguard. I think the very end of the episode makes it all worth it. His bike actually has gas in it this time, so they stop the villains from going any farther. Dr. Ferrara reveals himself as Cryogonal Man, but for having that name and persona, his Pokemon just turns out to be a Vanillish. There's a whole final battle, and even though it is against the Pokemon, seeing the hero and villain in their costume still feels kinda neat. That is until the very end when they deal out another Accelguard kick that actually lands, and dang, it was a team effort, but they still got it done. So I would definitely rate the mighty Accelguard at most a B, honestly. Sure, he is still obviously getting the hang of things, and he does actually stop the villain, though at the end of the day his feats aren't all that impressive. He is much more of a street tier hero, but a valuable member nonetheless. Next up is Blaziken Mask. So this character actually appears in multiple episodes because his secret identity is Meyer, Clement and Bonnie's dad. He does appear at the end of the second episode of the X and Y series, where he and Blaziken save Ash and Pikachu after they fall off the prison tower, and here they're actually set up as the mysterious protectors of Lumiose City. They have great agility, jumping from rooftop to rooftop patrolling the city at night, and while he does appear in a handful of other episodes where he plays a big role in and out of his persona, for now I'll mostly go over some feats. In the 10th episode of Pokemon X and Y, Team Rocket has a Mega Meowth mecha, which is a bit too much to handle for Pikachu and Chespin, but Mega Blaziken takes it out with a blast. This is the first the main characters are formally introduced to him after catching a glimpse here and there, and right away the anime treats him less like a goofy costume character and more like an actual urban legend. He barely speaks, vanishes into the night after battles, and keeps showing up whenever Lumiose City is in danger. The reveal that he's Clement and Bonnie's dad makes the whole thing even better. The thing I do love about Blaziken Mask is how often he shows up, protecting and saving many other characters, especially Clement and Bonnie, because they always end up in some sort of conflict, and there is also the fact that he shows up during the climax and helps out with that as well. He genuinely feels larger than life in a way Pokemon characters usually don't. I think Blaziken Mask might honestly be the closest Pokemon has ever gotten to a full-on comic book hero, having a secret identity and a story that continues across multiple episodes. And it is really neat that he actually really does something for one of the important cities in the Pokemon franchise. If only he were around in Pokemon Legends ZA. Easily this is an S-tier hero of a Pokemon world, and he would be the leader of our little Justice League. Finally, we have Mighty G. I talked about this episode briefly in one of my Pokemon Horizons review videos, but the episode title, Transform, Hero of the Seas, Palafin, has Liko and Roy hanging out at the beach one day supervised by Ludlow. They're then introduced to a wild Palafin. Being a Pokemon clearly based on the idea of superheroes, it all makes sense that this would be the return of the concept in the anime. As the climax features a swarm of angry Cloth, we see Ludlow spring into action, donning the persona of a hero known as Mighty G, the Defender of the Seas. He and Palafin help to calm the Cloth, not necessarily by fighting, but instead with a big old group hug. Definitely more of a goofy hero, but fast and powerful nonetheless. For being this buff and agile at an older age, I think he deserves some respect. While he is the flashiest hero, I wouldn't think he'd be all too up front. More like the wild card, especially because we spend so much time with him aboard the Brave Olivine as Ludlow, and pretty rarely see him become Mighty G. Later on we do find out that he used to be an action movie star using the name Guy Silver, so his more peaceful demeanor generally makes a lot of sense. Though I think I may still rank him as a B tier, mostly because he is generally only seen in the water, and I think he would only join the team once in a great while. Looking back at all these characters, I think what makes them so fun is that the Pokemon anime never treats superheroes as something weird or out of place. In a world that already has all these magical monsters running around, of course some random guy would see all of this and think, yeah, I should put on a costume. They all represent different kinds of heroes too. Gligar Man is the classic old school local hero trying to inspire people. The mighty Accelguard is basically a tokusatsu protagonist stumbling through life one pose at a time. Blaziken Mask is a genuine protector of an entire city. And Mighty G is proof that sometimes all you need to be a hero is good intentions and a really strong Palafin. More than anything, these episodes just have this really special energy to them. They feel experimental, like the writers just decided one day, what if we made a superhero episode, and then fully committed to the bit. And somehow these episodes ended up becoming some of the most charming and memorable parts of the anime, at least for me. There's something just weirdly nostalgic about them, even the newer episodes. Genuinely, I would watch an entire Pokemon Justice League movie. So let me know what you think in the comments below about all these superheroes we talked about today, which one is your favorite, and which of these episodes do you think really encapsulates the superhero theme in Pokemon. If you enjoyed watching, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and hype up the video as well, but for the moment I should be moving along and doing absolutely normal stuff. I'm definitely not going to change into my super suit. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, including the great Gators, Cemetery Hill, Jammy Jammy, David Shelf, Byron Brown, Saturn B, Megaka, Suffering, Cosmo Zero, Piwas, Mao, Kiko, Kaiser, Noob V, Jellyfish Chic, ITC, Lord Jeff, Hype, Pepperton, Alex with Shiny Hunts, Star Shooter, Koi Koi 13, Cheez It 62, Gator Kid 509, TF, Mathaclock 947, Taishira, and Quago. If you would like to support, see your name here, get access to emotes for comments, live streams, sometimes early videos, and our members-only Discord server, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky as well for more memes. Anyway, this is GatorEX, and I will catch you all later.
Okay, do you understand the rules?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Let's go. I choose you, Golbat!
I win.
No, that's cheating.
What? The Batman Superman Adventures, next on Kids WB.